We do begin with that battle over voting rights in Georgia. Republican lawmakers have passed a law on a party-line vote overhauling the election rules in that state. They say the law will help protect against voter fraud, but Democrats and critics say the law disenfranchises primarily people of color and that fraud claims have no basis in facts there. One of the new rules under this law, for example, it makes giving food or water to people who are waiting in line to vote a misdemeanor crime. President Biden called the law sick and un-American in his press conference yesterday. ABC's Steve Osunsami, he's in Atlanta with more on this and has been reporting on this issue really since the election. Steve, what specific changes, aside from that food and water rule, what were the real changes that this law is making to election rules there?
It's a laundry list of changes. It bans early voting on holidays, expands early voting for primary and general election, but not the runoffs, which is where Democrats were successful in January. It shortens the period between elections and runoffs from 9 weeks to 4 weeks. One that I really would like people to pay attention to is that it implements new restrictions on ballot drop boxes. Before, you could drop off your absentee or mail-in ballot to any one of these boxes 24 hours a day. There were cameras fixed on them, plenty of security, but now the new rules mean that you can only drop off ballots and mail in these ballot drop boxes inside a precinct during early voting while the precinct is open. So if the precinct is closed, you can't drop off your ballot there. It bans portable polling facilities and overhauls the state election board, giving the General Assembly new power over elections, taking some of that power from the Secretary of State's office, who in this case, even though he was a Trump supporter and a Republican, really kept reiterating the point that the elections were safe and that none of these issues that many Republicans were arguing about really had any legitimacy. Terry?
I remember that, Steve, where the Secretary of State was doing the job of the state's top election official. The politicians apparently are taking it back into the legislature. That is never a good sign. They're doing that in places in Europe. It's not really working out. Well, voting rights advocates say they plan to fight this law in court. What's their argument? What kind of shot do they have?
Well, their argument is that this is voter suppression, but I would like to put a finer point on it and make the case that there's a lot of evidence that says it's not just voter suppression, but it's suppression of particular voters. Because when you look at what happened in November and January, most of the people who voted by the ways that are on this list were Democrats and were minorities. And so there are many people who are going to be arguing in court that these particular rules are aimed at these populations. And you can take it a step further. If you look at what the legislature had intended to do, some of the provisions that didn't make this list, such as banning early voting on Sundays, that particular measure was aimed, many say, at the black church and black voters who vote on Sunday. So there's going to be a large argument about voter suppression. It is already happening. I'm sure you've heard, Terry, that there was a state representative who was banging on the door of the governor's office while he was signing this into law. Her name is Representative Park Cannon. She was now famously arrested by the state. She's facing felony charges because of this. Her people tell us that she is thankful for all the support that she's getting. She was trending on Twitter because of this. And this isn't just happening here. This is happening in a number of other states as a result of these election results. And Terry, you keep on making the point and underlining it, and I'm going to underline it with you. You know, we all know that this election was fair and square. The Republicans who run this state and the Republicans in this state who ran the election said so. You have one who's going to be coming up here shortly. You can ask him how he feels about this. Even the governor who signed this bill into law was saying many, many, many times that he felt the election was fair. Biden fairly won. And proof of that is because Republicans down ballot won their races. Some of the very Republicans who voted on this measure won their ballots in an election that they're trying to argue wasn't fair. And because of that, these particular rules are necessary. It is going to be an interesting day in court once this measure is actually contested in court. But even bigger than that, there is now a groundswell of anger as a result of these new rules. Terry.
Yep. When people feel their right to vote is being threatened, they'll get upset. Steve Osunsami in Atlanta, thanks very much, and we will ask him that question.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.